Welcome.
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 Welcome to Acts of Change.
Welcome to Acts of Change.
Bienvenidos a Actos de Cambio.
Welcome to Acts of Change.
Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome to Acts of Change. Acts of Change.
Welcome to Acts of Change.
Good evening, everyone. Let's try that again. Good evening, everyone. Woo! My name is Karen Basiler, and I am proud to serve as Jcua's current board president. I am so excited to welcome you back to our first in-person Acts of Change in 3 years. And a special hello to our friends and family who are watching from home, across Chicagoland, across the country. Thank you for your support. Acts of Change is the time when our community comes together to celebrate our collective impact. When so much of our work and so much that we have all weathered over the last 2 years is challenging, we savor this time for joy and community. Thank you all for being here. Serving as Jcua board president during this past year has been an incredible honor. Jcua has long been my Jewish home for social justice and tikkun olam, where I live out our obligation to repair the world. And our combined efforts are needed now more than ever before. We have a stellar program planned for you. We're excited to honor our very own board member, Rabbi Goldmarch, with the Miriam Award. Hooray! We're going to celebrate the amazing organizing victory for the Police Accountability Ordinance and hear from one of my personal heroes, Nicole Mcbride, who has been a leader in this work from the very beginning. Thank you, Nicole. And we're so grateful that we're joined by Brad Lander, the New York City Comptroller, who first developed his commitment to public service and activism at Jcua a couple decades ago. So it's a real from generation to generation moment to have him here today. We'll present Brad with the Rabbi Marks Award for Social Justice, named after Jcua founder, Rabbi Marks. And as we say at Jcua, our power comes from organized people and organized resources. And tonight, let's organize those resources. Acts of Change is critical to allowing Jcua to bring all of us together day in and day out, taking on the crucial campaigns for racial and economic justice that our city needs and demands. Please join us in supporting Jcua's work in whatever way you can tonight and in the months and years to come. Only through collective work will we arrive at the vital change and collective impact we need in our city. Finally, I believe we have 2 wonderful elected officials who are here with us tonight, Alderman Andre Vasquez and Congressman Chuy Garcia. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your dedication in this fight. And with that, I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Jcua Executive Director Judy Levy.
Good evening. We're so thrilled to have all of you here. I want to thank you for your patience and your understanding as we pivoted, and then we pivoted some more to get to this moment, and it's what I would call a Shehechianu moment. And so I would like to invite those of you who know the traditional Shehechianu prayer to join me in marking the exhilaration we feel on this long-awaited occasion. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who has given us life, sustained us, and allowed us to arrive at this moment. I am feeling joy and hope in reconnecting with all of you here. Members, friends, partners, everyone that makes our community powerful and meaningful. Though, even as we celebrate, I know we are also feeling the weight and pain of these challenging times. We are living through a period of turmoil. Amidst the anger, ongoing grief, and disbelief, we are concerned about the safety of our communities, our reproductive rights, and our very democracy itself. We are hurting for our young people who are understandably anxious and heavy with the burden of a troubled world. We are deeply concerned for people in our own community and across the city, for those who are experiencing racism and anti-Semitism and other forms of oppression, and for those who face each day wondering what onslaught the day will bring. Jcua's work throughout the years has been guided by Dr. King's prophetic notion that the arc of history bends towards justice. I am of the conviction, and I know I am not alone, that we must take a long view. Those in our country who are seeking to take us back and tear us apart will not prevail. The dangerous ideology of white supremacy and the growing violent movement of right-wing nationalism threatens the safety of all of us. At Jcua, we understand the stakes of this moment. We are building a city, region, and world where everyone can thrive. We know that action is the antidote to despair. At the center of Jcua's rich history is the fundamental belief in the possibility of transformative change. Our vision for the future is bold, pragmatic, and hopeful. We harness effective strategies and tools with purpose and enthusiasm to make this vision a reality. We are working to redefine public safety. After a more than 5-year campaign, our coalition led the passage of Empowering Communities for Public Safety, which saw a historic win. And you're going to hear lots more about that, but a big shout out goes to so many of you who were deeply involved in that work. We pursue immigration justice on a state and local level as members of the powerful Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. Shout out to all of you affiliated with ICER here. We helped to pass the 2022 state platform that expanded access to health care and the Earned Income Tax Credit. We have a multifaceted approach to housing justice. We are partners on the Bring Chicago Home campaign, which many of you are also involved in, which seeks to alleviate homelessness by generating new resources for housing and services. Chicago, you may not know, falls far behind other major cities in funding for the homeless. It's simply unacceptable, and winning Bring Chicago Home will change that. Our Community Ventures program, it's grown dramatically over the past few years, and through this program, Jcua awards zero-interest loans to nonprofits to get innovative housing, community hubs, and other projects off the ground. We currently have more than a dozen active partners, and the impact of this program can be seen across the city. We are pursuing racial justice and strengthening our commitment to being an anti-racist organization. Our Cole Orr Jews of Color Caucus is thriving, and our racial justice programs and trainings are bringing more focus to this critical work. On a personal level, I have found this work to be especially illuminating, and I am so proud to be leading a Jewish organization that is willing to look in the mirror and do the hard work necessary to live up to our ideals. We have 16 congregation partners across Chicagoland, and Jcua is welcomed to Shabbat and holiday services to share our work and connect with congregants' desire for engagement. You'll hear lots more tonight about Jcua's phenomenal youth leaders. Our Jcua community is distinctly intergenerational, and our teens and young adults assume leadership roles in many aspects of our work. But of course, that is only part of the story. I'm excited that we will be able to share with you what makes Jcua so special over the course of this evening. As I conclude, there are several people I'd like to thank. So please settle in, because I'm going to call each of you by name and thank you. Just kidding. I want to thank the host committee and all of the members of the host committee who stepped up to fan the Jcua flames and spread the word. And to all of our generous sponsors and donors who have made tonight a success. I want to thank the volunteers who came out tonight early to help with the event. And a special thank you to the Jcua Board of Directors who continue to provide governance leadership to a growing organization day in and day out. Thank you to all of our members, the community partners who are here with us tonight, and also the elected officials. Thank you in particular to the Jcua staff. They are an exceptional team, and I want to ask everybody on the staff to please rise and be recognized. And I also want to send out a big thank you to all of the clergy members who are here with us tonight. You honor us with your presence. Will all the rabbis and other clergy in the room please stand? A huge thank you goes to our extraordinary honorees and our speakers tonight. Thank you and mazel tov to our Rabbi Robert Marks Award recipient, New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. We know what a tremendous champion you are for our shared values, and we're just delighted that you take pride in your Jcua roots, and we're extra happy to have you here in person, so thank you. Thank you to Nicole Mcbride, who will share her experiences and reflections regarding partnerships and commitments that are necessary for community-centered, enduring public safety. And finally, thank you to our Miriam Award honoree, Rabbi Megan Goldmarch, named after the biblical Miriam, a prophet who understood leadership, embraced diversity, and challenged authority when necessary. Megan has served as a Jcua board member and exemplary partner, and she's also a great friend. She's raised the bar for all of us, and we already miss you, Megan. So, next up, we're going to hear from some other people in Megan's life who love her, who will be featured. And once more, thank you to all of you for making tonight very special and for joining us. And to those of you online, we're glad to have you with us as well.
Thank you for being here today. We are so proud of our daughter, Rabbi Megan Goldmarch. When Megan was around 3, we were with family, every one of us sitting on the porch in anticipation of dinner, when Megan, after looking around, said, "Who's doing the cooking?" It was prophetic. In the future, she would be feeding us in ways we could not imagine, making our and the lives of so many others more meaningful, more full of purpose.
At the beginning of college, my multitasking daughter, who could listen to music, talk on the phone, and get her homework done on her computer all at the same time, began methodically observing Shabbat. It somehow brought home to me that I had to take overt steps on a weekly basis to restore myself and at the same time really appreciate, at least temporarily, that it's not all about me.
Rabbi Megan's home is a place where I've been taught, been challenged, been comforted, been inspired, and most importantly, been loved.
I don't know what Megan's original job description as a Beis Hillel rabbi was, but right out of the gate, she made social justice a major component of her work. She took on a primary role in establishing and running the Chicago Jewish Justice Circle and partnered with Jcua and Mccoll on a racial justice series, among many other projects. More recently, in the wake of the killing of George Floyd and the protests that followed, she participated in the National Jewish Day of Learning on Racial Justice and then decided it would be a good idea to have a day like that on the local level and became the driving force in making it happen 2 years in a row.
I can think of no greater testament to Rabbi Megan and Paige's legacy than being in community with the hundreds and hundreds of young Jewish leaders in and around Chicago that have been inspired and taught by them, and will continue to take those lessons and inspirations and carry them forward as we continue to pursue justice in Chicago and beyond.
Megan's 6 years in Chicago have brought us unimagined joy. We treasure the moments we have shared with her, Paige, Bree, and Rory. You will be missed, but we know Philadelphia will benefit as we have from your wisdom and leadership. Yasher Koach, we love you.
My name's Brianna. My pronouns, she's fun. I love teeth.
Cheese?
Teeth.
Teeth? And who's this?
My name's Lauren. My pronouns, I love blankets.
And I love blankets. We all are so proud of you, Megan, for the justice work you have done over the last 6 years in finding your voice as a rabbi here in this community. You have brought so many people into this work. And I can't imagine a better role model for our children as you and the work that you do to show them how important it is to do justice work.
Hi everyone, my name is Andy Linker, and I am on the Housing and Economic Justice Committee here at Jcua, as well as a frequent attendee of classes, social events, and anything else I could get my hands on at Rabbi Megan's base. I've known Megan for 3 years now, and I can't think of someone in my life who exemplifies inspiring community leadership more than Rabbi Megan. You have a one-of-a-kind skill of meeting people where they're at and making them feel welcome while constantly pushing them to interrogate their core beliefs. No matter what I'm grappling with politically, religiously, or whatever else, I always know I have a safe confidant in Rabbi Megan. I am in awe of the way you have constantly pushed your community to think critically about social justice while bringing in voices from those communities most affected by the issues you're discussing along the way. The Chicago Jewish community has changed for the better because of your tireless work, and we're going to miss you so, so much. And I'm so happy to present this award to you tonight. Mazel tov.
Thank you. A huge thank you to Jcua for this incredible honor, and to everyone who came tonight and who wanted to be here and who's watching online, who's celebrating with us. I can imagine no organization that I would be more proud to receive an award from, and words can only begin to convey the depth of what this means to me. But since I'm a rabbi, and rabbis always have words, I will try, and I will turn to text to try. A text that many of the Basilers are familiar with who were with us on our closing retreat last month. We learn in the Talmud that Rabbi Chanina said, "I have learned much from my teachers and even more from my friends, but from my students, I have learned more than from all of them." Like many of us, my first teachers were my parents. The most core teaching I learned from them is one of the first lessons of the Torah, and the most important, perhaps, in my experience, that all humans are created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. They taught me this in the way that they interacted with everyone, but especially service workers, those who are mentally ill, and those who are in need of support in our community. They taught me to show up at Shiva when someone had a loss in the community, to tip well, and to make everyone I meet feel important. This is truly the foundation of who I am, and I am grateful for it. Growing up in Oak Park, it was not hard to see that just because we were all created in God's image did not mean we all had access to the same resources. While my schools were quite diverse, the honors classes were not. I was aware of this, and yet it took my first job at Yale Hillel, and specifically the students I met during those years, to begin to realize the extent of broken systems in our country and systemic inequality. I have learned much from my teachers and even more from my friends, but from my students I have learned most of all. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, in a play on words, writes that we call teachers of Torah morim, instructors, and they morim et morehem, instruct their instructors. And he connects the words morim, teachers, to the word morim, rebels. When students instruct their teachers, it is an act of rebellion. And this is often when we learn most deeply, when someone we have been assigned to teach, who we may have more power than, rebels and teaches us. My Yale students were rebels, instructing me by pushing back on my long-held assumptions about how the world works and what my role should be in changing it. I would not be here today receiving this award if it were not for them and hundreds of young people who I have been blessed to teach and learn from since my first full-time job over 15 years ago. My parents taught me to love, to be in awe of people in the world, but my students taught me the true meaning of Yisrael, to struggle with God, because the world we live in is filled with injustice, and it is our responsibility, especially those of us with power and privilege, to do something about it. It is because of these students that I became a rabbi, and not just a rabbi, but a rabbi dedicated to showing young people what Judaism could and should be. Wildly inclusive and accessible, constantly pushing us to work harder to create a more just world, helping us love more and care more and push more. I didn't know that Judaism could be all of these things when I was growing up, and I don't think my parents necessarily did either. But I have realized through my students that I need to know these things so I can teach them, and we can build the world that is needed. I became this rabbi for you because you asked me to be. Thank you to all of the Basilers, my students who are here tonight and have taught me and pushed me. I have learned most from all of you. But clearly I could not do what I did here in Chicago alone. I have learned from my teachers and even more from my friends. When I came back to Chicago in 2016, I knew I was early in my education of how to be a social justice-focused rabbi. And so first, I turned to Jcua to be my teacher and my friend. I have learned more from the staff, lay leaders, and board of this organization than any class I could have taken on how to be a change maker through a Jewish lens. I am in awe of the professional team, and I have loved getting to work with them and learn from each one of them. You are my teachers and my friends. My colleagues at Jcua, the Jewish Justice Circle, my fellow clergy friends, especially the lady rabbis, you all push me to work harder to use my voice to build a more just world every day. I will take you with me in every personal and professional role I take on. Thank you for teaching me to be the rebel I know I need to be. Thank you to all of you who joined the planning committee to make tonight so successful. I want to close by thanking my family, Paige for being the most supportive partner I could ask for being excited to grow as social justice warriors and humans alongside me, for being her own badass self, inspiring Jewish feminist teens through her work, and for raising our two beautiful daughters with me. To my brother Brendan, who is here in spirit, and especially to my mom and dad, who are my first and most important teachers. I love you. Thank you again to the Jcua team and everyone who made tonight happen for this incredible honor.
One of the biggest privileges of growing up in Chicago is that there's organizing all around us. There's been a long lineage of great organizers across many different issues, especially around safety and policing.
When I announced my candidacy, I was working at the time at the Illinois Attorney General's office. Our office had sued the city of Chicago and the police department to bring about systemic changes. I became intimately familiar, not just with the need of police accountability and really reimagining public safety across the city, but specifically the very fraught history of attempts to do just that over the last several decades.
Chicago has a long history of police brutality, police violence. The release of the Laquan McDonald video really accelerated the sense of urgency amongst a lot of folks, to the extent that community groups got together to form this Grassroots Alliance for Police Accountability Coalition.
GAPA is really all about creating this civilian oversight body for the police. When I think about my personal stake in police accountability, one of the things I think about is this idea of B'Tselem Elohim and all of us being created in God's image. And when you take that idea really seriously, we really have an imperative to create a Chicago where we can all thrive, we can all feel safe.
There's police violence against people of all races, and particularly people who have mental health issues, and there are Jews of color. So this is an issue that affects the Jewish community directly, and it impacts people we care about.
Those most directly impacted were very much at the heart of the work developing the ordinance. Democracy is woven through everything about the work. What was created out of that process was an oversight board and a set of institutions that will be the most democratic police oversight anywhere in the country.
You obviously start with a core group of individuals within and outside who are on the same page, broadly speaking, about where we need to go. And so working with other elected officials, but more importantly, folks outside of government, activists, movement organizers, to apply pressure in thoughtful and strategic ways.
In fall of 2018, we did an action outside of Alderman Michelle Smith's office. She hadn't yet fully publicly committed to supporting the GAPA ordinance.
We decided to do an action at her office, and it was right around the high holidays. So we thought we can draw on the themes of the high holidays to really call her to action. And the next day, she gave us a call and she ended up signing on to GAPA. So it was this really amazing moment of, man, we put all this effort into organizing this action, and then something really tangible came from it.
There were a lot of moments where we were like, oh, we're so close, we're so close. You know, I would tell all the people in different partnering organizations, this is the month, and then it wouldn't be the month. February of 2021, it seemed that both the GAPA and CPAC ordinance were going to be permanently stalled. We took a lot of time to figure out what the people of Chicago really needed, and we merged together these really powerful pieces of legislation that were GAPA and that were CPAC, and we created the Empowering Communities for Public Safety Ordinance, ECPS. At the same time, we also created a coalition around it. And that was really powerful because all of a sudden, we had a motor to drive us to organize in a place that was both powerful in the streets, but also powerful in front of the people that were making decisions. We had the movement and we had the people.
That day in July 2021, when the ordinance finally passed, was joyful. It was the culmination of more than 6 years of work by thousands of people. I remember being in a room in City Hall with a bunch of people who'd been deeply engaged in the struggle, and there was just jubilation.
Until it happened, I could not believe it. I remember just having the sign that said, pass the People's Ordinance, right next to my roll call. And when it happened, I was like, I can say, we passed the People's Ordinance.
When it passed, it was the strongest version of civilian oversight in the entire country. And so it's so important not just that we passed it, but that we implement it in the right ways. At the end of the day, to have folks who are focusing very deeply on the systemic changes, but also the sort of organizing that sustains the push for those changes, it's going to be really exciting.
Woven throughout the ordinance are tons of opportunities for more organizing. There are real opportunities going forward to reimagine the role of the police department, to think in bold new ways about resources we should be bringing to make all our communities safer.
This is just a baby step in a long list of things that we want to create. At the same time, while we try to implement it, we have to start thinking about, well, what comes next? Who do we need to partner with next? How can we grow this? Having community groups like this one be involved in the decision making of our city is what makes our city a beautiful, safe, and great city to be in.
I cannot help but grin from ear to ear because that was such a happy day for all of us and all of Chicago. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jackie Baldwin, and I'm on staff here at JCUA as a community organizer with our Community Safety Committee. I'm also proud to serve as the president of Beth Shalom Ben Isaac and Ethiopian Hebrew Congregation under the leadership of Emeritus JCUA board member Rabbi Capers Funay. Always a supporter of Rabbi's work with JCUA and the Trauma Center campaign, I became more involved with JCUA as a founding member of Kolor Jews of Color Caucus and working on the GAPA campaign. I joined JCUA in 2019 as a staff lead of Kolor, and later, filling the big shoes of Avra Shapiro, I became the organizer for our Community Safety Committee, where JCUA was proudly part of the coalition that won the ECPS campaign. It has been a pleasure to organize alongside all of our JCUA members and partners. I look around this room this evening and I can't help but smile and be thankful because as I move into the years where I get to retirement, I am overjoyed to be doing this work with so many of you. Indeed, all of you in this room tonight have sustained me in this work. And even though I'm still learning the ropes of organizing, because of you, I know that one day I'll get there. As you saw in the video, the ECPS victory is a major milestone in our work to build a Chicago where everyone is safe. But our work continues. ECPS creates exciting opportunities for community members like all of you to take on leadership roles in public safety. Empowering Communities for Public Safety creates district councils in each of Chicago's 22 police districts, where elected leaders will be the trusted representatives of residents around issues of policing and take a hands-on approach to ensuring community safety. Our coalition is seeking individuals like you to run for these 66 newly elected positions. Now, if you feel inspired by our work to make Chicago safe for everyone, this is an important opportunity to take action. Even with this historic achievement, we know that ECPS represents just one piece of a long road to ensuring community safety. Now, to give us a broader view of this, I would like to bring up and introduce to you Mccoll Jordan Mcbride. Mccoll was the coordinator for our GAPA coalition. In fact, she was the coordinator when I joined. And she was instrumental to getting my feet wet here, so I am eternally thankful for Mccoll's personal help. She was the coordinator of our Jcua campaign and played a critical role in getting this ordinance passed. Currently, she is the advocacy director for the policing project at NYU School of Law, where she is leading the implementation of the Chicago Neighborhood Policing Initiative. This initiative ensures that community members lead the development of public safety priorities and transform how Chicago Police Department officers engage with community residents. She has plenty of wisdom to share with you all, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that Mccoll's most important job in my book is being the mother of Michaela, who kept us all joyful and entertained in our many Jcua meetings. So at this time, it's my pleasure to welcome to the podium Mccoll Jordan Mcbride.
Thank you all for having me. I will say that they printed out my words, but I made so many changes on the way here that I had to bring my iPad, so thank you for your hard work. Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely enjoyed working with JCUA staff and leaders, and I definitely enjoyed my time with Jcua. Your passion and dedication at JCUA is truly hard to match. I'm both honored and humbled to be here, to be a part of work that will fundamentally change the future for our children. There are moments in time that are equally tragic and transformational. Moments that shake us to our core, yet provide a spark for change that is desperately needed. These are the moments that we, the collective we, have a choice. We must choose not to allow that moment, tragedy, event to fade into history, filed in the proverbial folder of things we never want to see happen again, yet somehow know it will. We have an opportunity, a responsibility even, to convert the pain of those moments into the fuel that we need to change the future for the better. This year marks 10 years since the killing of Trayvon Martin by a person who was acting in a law enforcement capacity. While this was not the first time that a Black person was killed in this manner, this moment was different. The failed conviction of his murder ignited the outcry that Black lives matter. As a country, for the next 10 years, we would see case after case after case of Black and brown people's lives being cut short. Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile, George Floyd, particularly at the hands of those who were supposed to protect and serve them. Almost with absolute impunity. For us, it was a tragic murder and attempted cover-up of Laquan McDonald that is both etched into our hearts and brought the necessary attention to the Chicago Police Department in order to unearth publicly what many of us already knew privately, a pattern and practice of racist behavior, lack of transparency, and underwhelming accountability at best. This was our moment. We were presented with an opportunity to honor Laquan and every other person in Chicago who'd experienced unjust policing practices. And we collectively rose to that challenge, never letting up, although sometimes passing the baton to the next person, until we got what we wanted. However, knowing that the development and passage of the ordinance to establish the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability with local district councils was but the first step of many that will be needed to make systemic changes in Chicago's public safety system. Although we have a long road ahead, I am proud to be a part of this moment. The willingness to identify and address systemic problems in policing is greater now than ever before. And that, my friends, is because of you. The collective yous that make us. Our collective power in Chicago and across the country that has demanded a reckoning with history and systemic reforms that are centered in the equitable treatment of all community members. We are pushing Chicago and the country to ensure that the community's perspective is shaping police policy. That policing is not happening to our communities, but public safety is being accomplished with our communities. Today, my work with Policing Project is centered in this. Notice that just because we find fault with the system and know that it needs to be changed does not mean that we cannot work with that system to change it. I worked hard with you all from the outside to change the system. Now, every day I work both outside of, but with the very institution I sought to hold accountable. I'm working with the Chicago Police Department to change not only how and where officers spend their time, but also redefining how they engage with community members in their districts. We want community members to be seen as experts in their experiences and in their communities. And we want officers to view themselves as partners, not patrollers, in achieving the public safety outcomes that make our communities safer. At a national level, we are thinking deeply about the ways in which police agencies can reduce their footprint in ways that matter while increasing their productivity in ways that are the same. We want to make sure that when emergencies occur, the right people with the right tools are showing up. As I come to a close, I'm reminded of the scripture in 1 Corinthians 12, 15 through 20. I promise it'll be quick. Now, if the foot should say, because I am not the hand, I don't belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not the eye, I don't belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the many parts of the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If we were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. I am proud of the work that I have been a part of within Jcua and the ECPS Coalition and at the Policing Project. But I know that none of it will be possible without all of us working in our various capacities to move the needle on these issues. It is our individual yet collective acts that produce the changes that we need to make our cities and our country a better place to work, live, and play. So I admonish you to keep moving towards our goal. Keep putting one foot in front of the other, grabbing friends, family, community leaders along the way. Do not be discouraged. We have many, many more wins to gain together. If I could put a small twist on the wisdom that Malcolm X left us, I would tell you that the future truly belongs to those who are willing to fight for it today. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your time.
Hey everybody, it is good to see you. Last year this was all video and we had to imagine all of you. But tonight we get to see you. Y'all look amazing out there. Come on, let's give it up. Y'all dressed up nice for this. And for those of you on the live stream at home in the Camp Shy t-shirt and the yoga pants, you look okay too.
What up, Shalomies, near and far back there and online? I am Sydney Wallace, JCUA board member, co-founder of COLOR, and a pretty active member of the Community Safety Committee.
And I'm Steve Rothschild. I'm Steve Rothschild. I'm also a board member and a member of our Housing and Economic Justice group.
And community safety and all of that. You do a lot of stuff.
I do all that stuff.
He's doing things. It's been an amazing year. We've been doing necessary work. We've been confronting challenges that both affect our neighbors in our city and across the country.
And we heard tonight about some of our organizing of people, but it's time for those organized resources. So reach into your pocket, pull out your phone right now.
Right now, let's go, come on.
I'm watching. I can stand here for a long time.
We can see you back there.
Yep, you guys in the back hiding out. 707070, text that number right now. Type in JCUA and you will be linked to our donor page. And if you are not comfortable going to 707070 or you just have a rotary phone in your pocket, we have cards on the chairs. For those of you at home, the link to our giving site is on the YouTube stream.
Excellent. So we're going to be starting our giving level at $13.50. We're going for, I believe it was $345,000 tonight, and I'm pretty sure this room alone could get that, let alone the people online. So we're going for $13.50. That amount would be able to fund 30 people to attend one of our Community Organizing 101 trainings. Now this training is what we need to be able to build the necessary skills to actually create the change like we've talked about earlier today.
And the important thing about JCUA organizing is it isn't just community organizing, although it is that. It is organizing Jewishly. And so what JCUA brings to the table is the ruach, the spirit, the Jewish sense of justice into everything we do, into housing work, into racial justice and equity work, into police and safety and community building work, in terms of developing communities. All of it is Jewish organizing. And that work and that training connects all of us and Jews across the city to be a more effective force for social justice.
Yes. I don't know if you can see it. I see we've got some donations coming in here.
I did not.
I think we got a Margaret Michelson just donated $1,800. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Margaret.
All right. We're going to talk about $1,000 now. Who in here can give $1,000? So I love all of the different programs that we have. And one of the ones we haven't really talked about but is doing transformative work is the CVP program, the Community Ventures program. That program has provided $7.5 million in zero interest loans for 57 projects. And they've created almost 5,000 affordable housing units and more than 1,400 jobs over the past 3 decades. So we're looking if we can find maybe 5 people that could donate $1,000 right now. Who is it? Is it you? Is that where you're smiling at me? I can see you behind the mask. Is that what you're doing? No? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, go ahead.
No, I think it's that person in the back of the room.
Oh, it's that one back there. All right, there you go.
Community Ventures has enormous impact, when you think about housing and jobs across the city. So we are really looking for those donors right now to provide funding to support this and to support Impact Tours so that JCUA members can not just hear about this work, but can go out to the sites, meet the people who are doing the work, see the work that is being done with funding being generated by all of you.
So I don't know if you guys know this, technology has come quite a bit. I'm able to see that there are donations coming in. So we've got Emma Harmon and Eric Levine and Kyle Peterson. Thank you, everyone. Nadia Goldberg. We're having so many people. It's going a little faster than I can read.
That's right.
But we've got a lot of people coming through. So thank you very much. Yeah, this is great.
This is very exciting.
This is so cool.
Seeing $500 from Jackie and John Davidoff, Maya Eckstein and Scott Gelman, $360, several anonymous donors. This is spectacular. And we know we're going to make our goal tonight.
Absolutely.
We're going to overcome that goal. So one of the things you have an opportunity to help us sponsor is our 5th annual Juneteenth event, which is sponsored by Cole Orr, Jews of Color Caucus, a core part. Let's give it up for Cole Orr.
Yes.
All we need, 7 donations, and easy to remember, 707070. Text in JCUA, bill that link.
Absolutely. It's an important annual event. It's the 5th annual event because we were doing it before it was cool. It'll be in person again in Marquette Park. I hope to see you there June 18th. Yeah, this is, oh my God. Are you guys seeing how quickly this is going up? Thank you, everyone. Leonard Rao, Julia LaBelle, we've got Rhymes going here, Jennifer Ritter, we've got a lot of people going up. Thank you so much for your donations. I think we'll be introducing a video now. Is that what I'm understanding?
That is what we're doing. We have a video right now.
Oh, is that why they pulled it back down?
I think that's it.
Okay.
So we have...
How do you donate again?
Oh, we donate. Please text JCUA to 707070. And if you are here, there are cards. And if you are online, there is a link. There are so many ways. We want your money. Please give it.
And we will be back. We got people floating around to collect
cards.
the cards.
Let's collect
I've seen
the cards.
people, so they'll be coming by.
Please
at
hold
the
them
end.
up.
Hold them up, and I see.
We've got pens, we've got pencils, we've got crayons, whatever you need. Let's go.
And we have an amazing video that talks about the intergenerational work of JCUA. So we're not gone yet. We'll be back, but video first.
I first got involved with JCUA as the Avodah organizer. It meant a lot to me that JCUA was organizing in a community that felt like my own, that it felt like I could be coming to Chicago and helping build the Jewish community that I wanted to be part of.
I came to the JCUA in the fall of 1969. I was a few years older than Sophie is now. I was a 5th-year student at Antioch College, which had a work-study program. I met Rabbi Marks probably the first day, and I always say that the JCUA is part of my DNA.
I first heard about JCUA from my mother. My mom was asking me if I was interested in going to her social justice meetings. Later on, she asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, and I said yes.
Before I did orthotic, I was fairly social justice oriented. A lot of that comes from the conversations that I had growing up with my parents and with my grandparents. And as I got older, I wanted to do things about it. And so I would be recommended for all of these youth social justice programs. A lot of them, it was very much, we know very well what we're doing and we're going to now tell the children what to do.
Too often, in any spaces, but social justice spaces included, we really don't value the wisdom and experience that young people are bringing to this work. That is something we think a lot about at JCUA, that we are really trying to create an environment that is truly intergenerational, that when we talk about creating a Jewish community where we don't leave anyone behind, that includes our young people.
The JCUA Organizing Fellowship was a learning experience about Chicago's history with organizing, specifically through the Jewish lens. It's so important to bring youth into this work because in a lot of ways their lives are dictated to them. In order to help teens become young adults who make choices and feel confident in those choices, we have to start giving them leadership opportunities.
Usually we're really seen as like dumb teenagers that like to vape or do stupid stuff. But in reality, we just pretty much proved them wrong.
Orthotic teens decided to work on the Bring Chicago Home campaign, which is a campaign aiming to fight homelessness in Chicago by bringing more funds to permanent affordable housing in the city. We think really strategically about what is the role that only youth could play.
I got to do a presentation on Bring Chicago Home at my congregation. I was very scared of it because a lot of my congregation has known me since I was really young. My grandma was very involved in my congregation, and that's true of many members in my family. And so I felt sort of a lot of pressure to do everyone proud with that. But the actual presentation was exhilarating for me. There was so much trust put in me and also support in creating that presentation with the support of people who had been working on this already.
Without JCUA, I would feel much more alone in this city. I just would not have a Jewish community that I could feel close to. I wouldn't have those that I feel I align with politically. What being in the JCUA community has taught me is that, like, if I have a need, this community will rise and, like, help in whatever way makes sense.
Mara is an amazing organizer. She tries to make sure you're mentally okay. She'll give you emotional support if you need it. You will feel better after and be like, yeah, Mara made me feel better.
Something that I think is really special is that our young people have just taken ownership over thinking about their own Jewish identities, what that looks like, how does that fit into other identities they might hold.
Mccoll is a space for Jews of color who are part of JCUA. Jews of color normally aren't seen as Jewish, and it's pretty annoying because you don't really get a validation. The Jews of color youth group brought them together so they can be proud of who they are.
It has been meaningful for me just as someone who was once a young person who was really angry about the world and wanted ways to plug in, and bringing our young people to the table, not only valuing what they have to say and offer, but really being guided by their visions for the world that aren't coming from a place of fear or scarcity, but are really coming from a place of hope and vision. The youth that JCUA is working with today will be involved in our community for years, if not decades to come. These are the core leaders that will be guiding our work 20, 30 years from now.
It is pretty special to organize alongside my mom. I do feel inspired and encouraged by my mother because she often takes me to protests or meetings with the mayor, even if she and the mayor like argue a lot. If someone goes, hey, is that your mom? I'll be like, yeah, I'm Sydney's daughter.
I think the fact that my grandmother is such an involved JCUA member and has been for a while, and that I also get to do that is a real testament to JCUA's value of intergenerational working.
I am obviously an incredibly proud grandmother about this. I came to the JCUA when I was only a few years older than she is now, and it's been a part of my life ever since. I would be proud of Sophie, whatever she was doing, but the fact that she's doing it here is a particularly wonderful thing, because issues will change over time, but the skills that Sophie gets to learn now, she will certainly carry with her and have them at her fingertips for the rest of her life. I try to stay out of her way and let her do her thing and just kind of watch and smile.
All right. She's for Clem, so and that's Sydney. That's Sylvan. Sorry. And I suspect I am not the only one who has been in Jewish spaces where people, my age worry about what is going to happen to the next generation. What are Jewish young people leaving, and are they connecting with their faith? If that didn't connect with you, I don't know what's going on, because this is what JCUA does. It is creating an intergenerational movement, and I am so off script right now, I don't even remember where I'm at. But I really want to acknowledge how powerful this work is in creating, L'Dor V'Dor, a Jewish generational movement that will continue. But that doesn't happen without resources. Where are we at right now? How are we doing?
I think we're doing pretty well.
All right.
I think there was something special we were supposed to talk about.
I think there is something special we're supposed to talk about. Even though we are already at 313,000, we are going to give everybody who hasn't donated a big reason to pledge right now.
Right now.
Our board, our colleagues on the JCUA board,
yes,
have offered a match.
Like a date?
No, this isn't J-date, Sydney. No. Anyone who pledges from right now to the end of the evening, the JCUA board will match dollar for dollar up to $12,000. So every donation you make brings us $24,000 closer to the goal.
Awesome. awesome sauce. All right, $500. Let's talk about that. $500 will be able to help our Orzetic members, our youth members, do a Shabbaton retreat. I think that'll be able to work for about 10 people. Let's get about 10 people to donate $500 now. My daughter has thoroughly enjoyed it, has become a leader. My oldest son is looking to join next year. Please fund that because I don't want to be the only one doing that. We can collectively do it as a community, help us reach our goal. So thank you very much. There are so many more donations that have come in that we've actually gotten up to another $2,000 since you've just said $13,000. Thank you. Maris has donated. Dana has donated. A bunch of anonymous people. Community Renewal Society, who I have worked with personally. Thank you very much.
And did you see this one?
Yes. Look, oh my gosh, Greg Rothman. Oh, I had not just seen that. $4,000. Thank you very much.
All right. And for those of you in your room, I am not seeing thumbs moving on your phones. 707070. JCUA right now. We have a new giving level, $360. You heard about Bring Chicago Home earlier. They're over 60. Yeah, let's give it up for Bring Chicago Home. We are going to pass that ordinance, which will create a lasting funding stream to create affordable, permanent housing for as many as the 60,000 Chicagoans who are homeless or vulnerably housed as we can. But that requires organized resources. So we are looking for donors at the $360 level so we can bring that ordinance to the ballot in Chicago this fall. So I'm looking for 10 people right now in this room. Come on, I know you got it. Pull out those phones and donate now.
I am excited about all of these donations that are coming through. I know that we typically ask that when you're in a place like this and there are people talking to not be on your phone. Please get on your phone. We want you on your phone right now. Text JCUA to 707070. Remember that because later I'm going to ask you what it is and I want you to repeat it back to me. Your donations make our work possible, everybody, making a true difference in the lives of our neighbors across the city and beyond. Speaking of beyond, we go down to Springfield for a lobby day. So we go down, we meet our legislators, we bully them, we encourage them, we help them to do what it is that we have asked them to do when we elected them. So we're looking for at least a dozen people that can give $180 to fund a lobby day down in Springfield. So let's see. Show of hands, who down here has been to a lobby day? So those of you at home, I'm sure all of your hands have gone up, but you can't see that a fair amount of hands have gone up. So everyone who's gone to a lobby day, let's give yourselves a hand. You have been able to help encourage our community organizing. And we're getting so many more donations, 500 from Bonetta. Thank you, Rose Silverman. We're getting all, oh my goodness. This is, I know you can see it, but it's very exciting from my standpoint as well. Oh, George, we just saw George come through. Thank you. All right, so how about $100? Anybody can do $100? I know this is a little bit more manageable for many of our members. Again, I'm not seeing as many hands in the back, but I know that you guys are in a flurry on your phones. This will help support outreach events to recruit candidates running for the district councils for ECPS that we were just talking about, because I know everyone here is either running or campaigning for someone that's on a district council, but we want to be able to fund that. So $100, who can do that for us right now? I'm seeing more $500. Oh my goodness. I'm seeing people donate more than once as well. That is totally fine. This is not like Chicago voting. You can do this as many times as you want.
You can do that with Chicago voting too.
Oh,
okay. All right.
Oh my goodness.
So look at all these donations. I'm seeing the names of friends on here. I am seeing people from across the city at all kinds of levels. And that is the movement we're building. We are really looking, if you are listening, if you are here, if we can get to 100%, everybody contributing something, it will make such a big difference. So we've got a lot of momentum going. Where are we up to right now? I cannot see. $322,000 already this evening. We are going to keep this momentum going. So I am going to call on you right now for anyone who can give $72, quadruple high right now. Put us over the top.
All right, I see like one person on their phone, so maybe it's my turn to sweeten the
I
pot?
think you better.
I bet
But,
I should
yeah,
better.
but wait, so you're sweetening a pie. Is the chocolate fondue out already?
I don't think it is, but what I'm saying is we
Oh,
should be
okay.
able to do a tote bag. So anyone right now who could donate, maybe, I don't know, $72?
$72.
Yeah. We'll be able to get a tote bag. It'll be branded, brand new JCUA stuff. I know we all love this. This is beautiful. We love it. It's cherished and dear to our heart. But there will be a new rebranding just in time for 5783, so you can go into the new year proud and loud. And don't worry, if you've donated more than 72, we were going to give you a tote bag anyway. We just kind of wanted to be able to make it a little bit more exciting right now. But $72, you get the new tote bag just in time for Rosh Hashanah. If you haven't had a chance to donate yet and you want some swag, this is the time to do it.
JCUA merch, shul, you put your tallis bag in, all kinds of things. So, pledge now. The $72 will help support our racial justice training. And I want to take a serious moment to talk about JCUA's racial justice training, because if you have been listening, you can see that one of the other elements that's really at the core of our work is an understanding of the persistence and complex influence that systemic racism plays in all of our lives and in the city that we live in and love. And racial justice training really grounds our work and gives it so much more power. But again, to mobilize people, to hire the trainers, to put the curricula together, needs resources. So $72 right now will help us do that. I also want to talk for a moment about our Torah of organizing work. And again, this is our educational program. We're looking for 25 people who can pledge $54. The rabbis and people who teach our Torah of organizing help us, again, bring a Jewish lens to this, who help us organize Jewishly. And you can be part of that movement by a $54 donation right now. We are getting so close to our goal this evening. Let's keep it moving.
All right, so I'm seeing a lot of more donations come in. Thank you, everyone. Sophie, Jonathan, Michael, Alex, Emily, Anna. More names are coming in. Dee Dee, thank you.
Get well, Anna.
Yes, Anna Rubin, please get well. So now we're at the giving level of 36. We're looking for at least 36 people that could donate $36 right now. We're texting JCUA to what? 7? I love that. You guys would be wonderful. You're near and dear after Jackie's heart. She was a former teacher. All right. This amount helps to support 2 leaders of our membership to complete the organizing fellowship. So $36 right now. I'm seeing a lot of names coming in right now.
So the fellowship is where we train that next generation in what it means to be an organizer and how to be effective and how to be that next generation of JCUA staff. So 36 of you committing $36 helps us make that happen. And we know, we've seen a lot of unbelievably generous donations tonight, but $1,800, $3,600, $4,000, that's out of the reach of many of you. But $36 is an opportunity that is to give a meaningful donation to be a member of JCUA and to help keep this movement going.
Absolutely. So I understand that we need to start wrapping this up. I want everyone to know that we will continue taking your donations. We have no problem taking your money for the rest of the evening.
The match continues.
Our match continues, and I want to remind everyone that if you donate at least $18, you become a member of JCUA and you become a member of this transformative work. So I want to thank everyone. Oh, I just saw a member join, an $18 one. So I want to thank everyone for your donations that you have given before, you are giving now, and you will give in the future. And I want to wish everyone a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How you feeling?
I did that pitch for a few years at these dinners, and I'm glad that somebody else is doing those pitches for me now. Hi, everyone. I am Jeff Zaluda. I'm a past president of JCUA. I'm a current member of the board. And in one of the proudest moments of my life, a couple of years ago, I was the recipient of the Rabbi Marks Award, Social Justice Award. I still feel good about it, and I'm going to feel good about that the rest of my life. Honestly. To effect systemic change, we need activists and organizers on the outside pushing for change. We need courageous elected officials on the inside to partner with our movements. We need to learn from the past, we need to envision the future, and we need to reform systems for the long term. And we also need to model what those changes might look like for the right here and the right now. I want to speak briefly about this last piece because it's a crucial part of JCUA's story. An important part of my engagement with JCUA over the years has been through the Community Venture Partners CVP program, which you heard a little bit about tonight. CVP works to strengthen Chicago's neighborhoods by moving money to the community development organizations who are creating housing and jobs for people who need it most in the immediate. The CVP model is ingenious and unique. JCUA partners with community groups across the city, organizations like Refugee One, the Chicago Furniture Bank, Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives, Star Farm, who I know there's someone from Star Farm here tonight, wherever you are, and many, many more organizations. We provide zero-interest loans to get projects off the ground. Our partners get the funds they need to build affordable housing and economic development projects, and then they recycle the money right back to JCUA so we can loan it again and again and again and again. The CVP just celebrated its 30th year. Since 2017, it has grown an astounding 8-fold. We've had some really, really generous donors who realized that JCUA was the only organization within the Jewish community that was actually committing itself to economic development within these communities the way it was. Now, what we now have is $2.5 million in that revolving loan fund, but we've managed, even with much less, to have loaned over almost $8 million over the course of time. That has led to the creation or preservation of nearly 5,000 units of affordable housing and 1,400 living wage jobs in Chicago. Now, there's someone here tonight who knows a little bit about the potential of finance to create progressive change, and that's tonight's honoree, Brad Lander. Brad's title as comptroller of the City of New York, which is darn impressive, connotes number crunching, detailed budgets, spreadsheets, things like that. And in fact, it was Brad's role as an organizer, a JCUA-trained organizer, that put him in the position to deal with finance and money, to work it in the powerful ways that he's doing now. In his role in New York City, Brad is focusing on building a more equitable economy, holding the New York City government accountable to the people, and securing a future where all 8 million residents can thrive. We're proud that Brad's organizing career began here with us at JCUA. Brad joined us as a student to working on our community development work. He is a shining example of how JCUA, founded by Rabbi Marx in the 1960s, has shaped and facilitated the growth of powerful Jewish leaders, not only in Chicago, but well beyond. And now, a video.
Tonight is a moment to reflect on how far we've come. All the work we've done, this organization we've built together, is the culmination of 6 decades of dedication and collaboration by thousands of people.
Our community wasn't always so large. In 1964, a young Chicago rabbi took bold action when founding the Jewish Council on Urban Affairs. Inspired by the Civil Rights Movement, Rabbi Robert J. Marks founded JCUA out of a conviction that the Jewish call to pursue justice, tzedek tirdof, is the most sacred of the Torah's teachings.
His ideas were prophetic. He called on the Jewish community to lock arms with our neighbors, that we should pray for each other, care for each other, and fight for each other. That the destiny of our Jewish community is intertwined with the destiny of everyone around us.
Rabbi Marks knew it wasn't enough to read the right books and empathize with people facing oppression.
He knew we couldn't talk our way to liberation. We needed to get up, get out into the community, and take action to transform the world.
Rabbi Marx created JCUA not to uplift himself, but to bring more people into the work, more voices. He wanted to raise up the next generation of leaders to pursue justice.
One of these young leaders was Brad Lander. Brad came to JCUA as a student at the University of Chicago. He was inspired by Rabbi Marx's leadership and wanted to join him in making the city a better place for all Chicagoans.
Brad took to heart Rabbi Marx's interstitial analysis of us as the people in between, with a capacity and responsibility to engage as Jews, to move society, not in the process of working for justice, but to make justice happen.
Brad learned the power of organizing. Working in coalition on grassroots campaigns and bringing young people into the work, he began what has become a decorated career in social justice.
After graduation, Brad took his knowledge to New York City, where he built a career empowering local community. He led 2 community development nonprofits for 15 years before being elected to New York's City Council in 2009. All the while, he's been fighting for social change with our movement siblings at Jews for Racial and Economic Justice.
Brad took a major step earlier this year when he became New York City Comptroller, the Chief Accountability and Financial Officer for the city. Forever an organizer, Brad is using his office to partner with social justice organizations across New York to create a city where everyone can thrive.
And now I am proud to introduce 2 JCUA youth leaders who you saw in the video earlier to help us present the Rabbi Marx Award to Comptroller Lander. 2 leaders who you'll recognize from tonight, Sylvan Wallace and Sophie Stein.
Hello, my name is Sylvan Wallace and I am a JCUA member.
My name is Sophie Stein, and I am also a JCUA member. We are here to congratulate Brad Lander for receiving the Rabbi Marx Award for Social Justice. After starting his organizing career with JCUA, Brad has gone on to lead an incredible career as a Jewish social justice leader. He was elected to New York City Council in 2009, where he co-founded the city's Progressive Caucus. He has a strong record of partnering with communities to win transformative change for all New Yorkers. Brad exemplifies how JCUA is a truly intergenerational space that provides young people with the tools and experiences they need to become leaders in Chicago and beyond.
On behalf of all of us at JCUA, we are proud to present the Rabbi Marx Award for Social Justice to Brad Lander.
Thank you so much. Stick around here 1 second. Oh, yes. You guys just, Sylvan and Sophie, stay here 1 second. Yeah, can we give it up for Sophie and Sylvan, please? That youth video was amazing, and I had the chance outside to talk to Sophie for a minute about the campaign work that you guys are doing. It turns out we're both in the midst of running campaigns to try to force progressive real estate taxation, so a little bit more of obscenely too expensive housing pays at least something more like its fair share so that we could invest it in affordable and supportive housing. Now, I learned that Sophie's campaign is called Bring Chicago Home, and ours is named after the obscure provision of the New York real property tax law that we're trying to kill, End 421A. So we have some things to learn from the next generation. So thank you, guys. Oh, what an amazing and powerful evening. Congratulations to everybody who put it together. Mccoll, thank you for those fierce and powerful words. Rabbi Goldmarch, congratulations. Beautiful to see that video, to see you get the Miriam Award. It reminds me one of our other connections between JCUA and my own life is that my rabbi, Miriam Grossman, was your education director for many years. And you'll be glad to know they just had their first kid, Miriam and Jeremy, and they are doing fantastic. Huge thank you to Judy and Karen and Jeff and all of you. First, for just bringing me here. I'm so delighted to be here in Chicago tonight. With us are my parents from St. Louis, David and Carol Lander. Lifelong public school guidance counselor and social justice lawyer, so that the values that were brought out and flourished in my training at JCUA were planted at home. And I'm so lucky also to be here with our daughter, Rosa Lander, who's a freshman at University of Chicago. This is her first JCUA event, so hint, hint to the folks that do the recruiting. But she is already a big Jews for Racial and Economic Justice activist. And actually, it was her ad in which she rolls her eyes at my dad jokes that is largely responsible for my winning the New York City Comptroller's office. Some people think it was AOC, but we know the truth. And she just finished her first year with classes that included police torture and machine politics, which I don't remember from my time at University of Chicago, where we only studied ancient Greek. As you saw and heard a little in the video, JCUA played a fundamental role in how I engage in politics, in organizing, and work for social justice, and how I think about my Judaism. So I am so honored to be here to reflect for just a minute with you on the lessons I learned at JCUA, how they've shaped my work, and what they might mean for all of us in these really hard and dark times. I'm verklempt seeing the people who I got to learn that from. So with Jane Ramsey, who was my boss in the 1990-91, working at the Jewish Urban Mitzvah Corps, and to see so many other incredible friends here, Sydney Hollander and Susan Kaplan and Carolyn Shapiro, and some folks who aren't in the room, Alan Goldberg, and lots of you have mentioned him, but he was on staff when I was there from Rabbi Capers Funay. He was the first person to teach me about Jews of color and what's required of us as we look in the mirror and think about our history. We stopped by KAM Isaiah Israel today, and I'm thinking about Rabbi Arnold Jacob Wolf, Alam V'Sholem, and of course of the legendary Rabbi Robert Marks, whose name I am so deeply humbled to have on this award. The model for community development work at JCUA, then as now, centered excluded communities, especially geographically, thinking about the ways in which our very neighborhoods reflect the reproduction of systemic racism and inequality. Our homes, the places we love, are yet also the places that reproduce racism, that are built on it and create a structure of opportunity. And that has to shape both how we understand the problem and the solution. So it's not just people who are trying to make neighborhoods better, though that is critical. It is incisive systemic critique, and it points you to the leaders that have to be in front. It is the folks doing the work on the ground every day in those neighborhoods who you have an obligation to show up for. And that leads to a really deep practice of allyship in which you center folks on the ground who are facing problems, make sure their voices and their leadership are lifting up, but you surround them, you back them up, you have their backs, you show up for organizing, you provide resources through that Community Ventures program, which started 30 years ago when I was a little pisher next door. You help people build strong institutions, which requires developing activists and leaders, and then you build thoughtful coalitions that build from those insights to demand change, like the ones you witnessed here tonight and you guys have been a part of. My own role at JCUA was in Jewish community outreach, the Jewish Mitzvah Corps, and with synagogues. Rabbi Bruce Elder and I partnered on a book entitled Celebrations of Justice, as a result of which, to this day, my wife still believes Sukkot is a holiday about homelessness, Purim is about gender equity, and Hanukkah, of course, about energy conservation. That work with diverse Jewish communities was grounded in the analysis that Jane mentioned in the video that Rabbi Marx taught us of Jews as a people in between, building on the incisive analysis of James Baldwin, who said that in the 1960s, 3 out of the 4 white folks that blacks were likely to encounter in inner city Chicago or New York, the grocery store owner, the teacher, the social worker, and the cop, the first 3 were pretty likely to be Jewish. And that puts us in a spot, creates a responsibility, an obligation to think differently about systems and structures of power, what role we play in them, and how we have to stand up and confront them. And it also gives us an opportunity to connect our values with our interests, because it is only possible to build something that represents that tzedek tirdof, the values that we have. You were a stranger, so you won't oppress strangers, but also to be safe, because the only way that if you're the folks in between that you're going to be able to be safe is if everybody genuinely has equal opportunity. That's what he taught us, and those lessons have just shaped my whole career. I moved from Chicago to New York to follow my then girlfriend, now wife of 26 years, and embarked first on a 15-year career in community development, very much inspired by the kind of community development work I had learned at Jcua, leading 2 affordable housing and community development groups, becoming an early co-chair and leader with Jews for Racial and Economic Justice. Then after a long time, maybe in denial, I entered local politics, running for city council in 2009, helping to form the council's progressive caucus, building closely with grassroots groups like Make the Road and Acorn and New York Communities for Change and the Working Families Party, helping create a national network of progressive local elected officials called Local Progress, and the issues that we worked on, which you saw in those videos, fighting for tenants' rights to keep people from getting kicked out of their homes only for landlord greed, showing up to create good jobs with fast food workers, Uber and Lyft drivers, DoorDash delivery workers, nail salon techs, all of whom now have guaranteed minimum wages who didn't before, who have paid sick days, who have pathways to living wage jobs. We're going to make New York the first place to pass both just cause protections against getting evicted and also just cause protections against getting fired, so you can't lose your job just on the whim of your boss. We did it for fast food workers. We're going to do it for everybody else. Together with my partner in safety, Jumaane Williams, our public advocate and a candidate for governor, we won the Community Safety Act campaign, ending the era of discriminatory stop and frisk and creating the New York Inspector General's Office for the NYPD. In all those campaigns, we worked hard to make sure we're following the leadership of folks who are most directly facing those problems, are on the ground, are building coalitions together. And each campaign, as you're doing tonight, seeing it as an opportunity for transformation. You never win all the things you want. What you do is take some steps forward and make sure you've built it in a way that makes you hungry for more justice. So after a little rest from this campaign, you are excited to get back up for the next one. I feel so inspired. I mean, standing here with Sylvan and Sophie, young, diverse leadership in our movements is incredible. And last year on election night, I mean, my own win, of course, meant a lot to me, but my new council member in the district that I represented for 12 years, that's only ever been represented by white men before, is a young woman who had worked in my office, Shahana Hanif, our first Bangladeshi Muslim city council member in New York City. And somebody who, like my friend Greg Casar in Texas, or Lorena Gonzalez in Seattle, or Raquel Castaneda Lopez in Detroit, there is a movement of incredible, diverse, fierce, hungry for justice young people, and our chance to be their allies is our chance to save our democracy and ourselves. So it's easy to see how deeply, thank you. It's easy to see how deeply Jcua lessons shaped my career in the council. Now I've stepped into this job that Jeff rightly says is New York City's Chief Financial and Accountability Officer. A lot of people are like, what is a comptroller? And we did a funny ad in which Alana Glazer said, well, obviously it's a stroller with a computer built into it. Cal Penn said, it's that red button on the old Atari joystick that you try to control things with. But John Oliver was actually the funniest. He did a video on police brutality in which he says over the last 5 years, the largest 5 cities in America have paid out over $1 billion in settlements for police misconduct. Then he turns and he says, now, I'm no comptroller. Believe me, I wish I were. A hard-to-explain, lethally boring elected accountant for which they took a perfectly good word, and here the word controller comes up on the screen, and inexplicably stuck an oomph right in the middle of it. That's my dream jump. But it is a chance to show that our progressive values and effective governance can work together. And that's why, as a steward of $265 billion pension fund, I led the campaign against the 2 Amazon board members that are supposed to be providing oversight of workforce management, but are completely failing their warehouse workers. And we got a whole series of votes against those campaigns. And as Jeff said, we're building on the lessons of the Community Ventures program and thinking about how we invest those resources in our neighborhood. We've got a pioneering program called Public Solar NYC that's not only going to expand rooftop solar all around the city, but make sure the people getting the jobs are Black and brown folks in frontline neighborhoods, in public housing, in environmental justice communities. And we're going to keep working to make sure our money is not invested in banks like Wells Fargo that deny fair access to credit to African American homeowners, but instead is invested in people who look like the folks in our neighborhoods, because that's how we'll get jobs and businesses and housing that truly works for people. So to conclude, I just want to think for 1 minute with you about how those lessons I learned here 30 years ago and that have shaped my career to this point, what they mean for us now in this really hard and dark moment. I mean, I think we should speak honestly about how hard it is to feel hope in these moments of despair if your democracy can't even protect your children from being slaughtered in mass killings. How on earth is it going to win genuinely inclusive multiracial democracy where everyone could afford a home and have a decent job and a good integrated school for their kids? It is a challenging moment. It is a moment when we're called to attend to what Mariam Kaba calls hope as a discipline, or what Rebecca Solnit says, hope's not a lottery ticket that you get to clutch on your couch praying you win. It's an axe you use to break down doors in an emergency because it is your only way out of that room. And that's the kind of hope we need now, hope that gets us off the couch and inspires to the kind of action you've seen here tonight. There's no guarantees it'll work. There will be dark times, and yet you can feel in this room the power of those victories and what they mean to propel us forward. Our only path forward is through organizing in diverse coalitions, is through stewarding the kinds of organizations you are building here, is by partnering to help other people build them, is by being reflective and honest about what internalized racism and internalized misogyny does in us and what it requires of us. There is obviously such a critical role for the Jewish community in that work. It does mean, my friends, that we have to push ourselves not only on racism, but also on Palestinian freedom and human rights. I'm not calling for JCUA to get involved in foreign policy work. There is plenty to do in Chicago. But our progressive values ring hollow if we don't speak out against the occupation. As someone who remains inspired by the vision of Jewish and democratic Israel, I also firmly believe we can't teach our kids Jewish values of equality and inclusion if we ignore them there. So I'll conclude with this: that path we imagine of a more fundamentally equal, inclusive, multiracial democracy, something we've been struggling for centuries, maybe even really imagining more clearly in recent decades, but really never brought into being anywhere yet on this planet. It is the only way forward possible that could combine our Jewish values and our interests. Ultimately, it's the only way that we or anyone could be truly safe and truly free. That, for me, is that lesson of Rabbi Marx's teaching and why I will treasure this award. What it means to be a people in between is to put yourself on the line for that more equal, more inclusive, more genuinely just place. And it corresponds with an even older Jewish teaching. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am for myself only, what am I? And if not tonight, when? Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. You're a tough act to follow. My name is Sarah Cantor, and I have the honor of concluding our event tonight. I am the board vice president of Jcua. I've been involved with Jcua for 5 years, and I gotta say, never has it felt more important to be in a room, in person, with so many people who share our values. So thank you. This night is giving me that discipline of hope. I'm also just reflecting on the fact that, you know, there are lots of grassroots organizations, and there are lots of Jewish organizations, but very few organizations where those two things come together, none that I know of in Chicago. So just, yes. We are right in that intersection, which is exactly where I want to be. So I hope that you have enjoyed tonight's Acts of Change. If you've made a donation to the event, thank you. Thank you very much. And if you haven't, there is still time to give. If you are feeling moved and inspired by the collective work of this organization and this community, we need you to support us to keep the work going. I will remind everyone about the tote bag, $72. If a society free from poverty, racism, and anti-Semitism doesn't motivate you, tote bag. Now, donating tonight is an important way to support this work, but it's not the only way. If you are not a JCUA member, I will totally encourage you to go online, jcua.org, get involved, click Become a Member. You'll meet one-on-one with one of our organizers. They will help you figure out how you can plug in which campaign, which committee you're called to, whether it's housing and economic justice, community safety, immigration justice, or other programs. I will also extend an invitation on behalf of our Cole or Jews of Color Caucus. They are hosting the fifth annual Juneteenth Havdalah on June 18th in Marquette Park. I know, yes. It is an awesome event. I've been before. I will be there with my family. It is a way to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved African Americans and bring Shabbos to a joyful close. I can't imagine a better merging of worlds. And this concludes our Acts of Change event for tonight. So I have a couple logistics. Of course, thank you. I'm gonna really quickly go through the sponsors, the board, the staff, the host committee, the partners, our honorees, and all of you. Thank you. And before you leave, I will invite everyone to actually head back outside. We have cookies, coffee and tea, and you can validate parking at the front desk on your way out. And in about 15 minutes, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Good night.